Second.
Second.
Yep, there's an updated version of the Parks and Rec budget transfer request, so that's item number 8. You'll see item number 14 down towards the end, and that, I believe, is...
Number 10 was added at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was the one I just emailed Brian about. Yep, number 10 is a recent item, time-sensitive aspect to that, and Zeke will be able to explain the details of it. I'm sorry for my voice, I'm losing my voice. The most recent ones are on the website. Number 14, and an update to number 8.
You didn't send anything out today about that, or just finding up here?
It came up in the last few hours, number 10. The other items are already included.
Anything else, anybody else? Okay, with those additions, all in favor of approving the agenda with the minor amendments, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Next is approval of the consent agenda.
I move.
Second.
Seconded, any comments on the consent agenda?
I have a couple of comments on the minutes.
Yes.
So, minutes of our regular meeting, October 22nd. On the page 4.
Page 4.
Which line?
Of
Line.
those minutes, well, it's line 132, basically. This is under the Maple Broadband. And relates to the siting of the hub and one of the priority areas that the board recommended, the area, the entrance to the rec park. And there was discussion at the infrastructure committee meeting, and we had a little discussion about their minutes, not mentioning it, and I just, Andy recommended that we make sure that it's in the select board minutes.
I did.
So it's not in here, so I would add the language, Dunnington noted the discussion at the infrastructure meeting about Mary Hogan Drive option. As this is the entrance to the rec park, the hub and its fencing might better be sited on the north edge of the rec park entrance and landscape consistent with the other rotary rec park entrance landscaping.
Okay, noted. Anything else on that, Fred?
Side note to that, I just comment that, you know, sometimes these Wi-Fi hubs or broadband hubs are gonna need a generator. So there might be more involved with that in the future.
Yep.
And then on the line 286, this first sentence, Dunnington asked if there was any work the committee had done that could have done better. That is a kind of a harsh way. I would like it to say, Dunnington asked in retrospect if the committee felt there was something the town might have done differently or better from a DEI perspective. I wasn't saying the committee was doing anything wrong. Is that okay?
Sure.
And the only other one was back on 243. So it was felt to be important for the town to have a stake in the proceedings. It should say party status.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda with the amendments to the meeting minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, next is citizen comments. Given the number of people that are here, there may be somebody who's here for something that's not on the agenda.
Where do you get the agenda?
On the website generally?
I kept looking,
Really?
didn't see that.
Under select board,
If you go
you
to,
pick the meeting, date, and there's,
On the main page, if you go to meetings and agendas and you click on that, there's a list of all the committees. Click on select board and then by year, and then the packets and agendas and everything are there.
It's also mailed to you, emailed to you if you're on the email list for the town.
Okay, I kept looking today, I didn't see it.
And it comes out the week before, so it was
Okay.
last week.
Do you guys need some more chairs?
I think it should also be noted that, you know, it was posted for a while, and then David was amending it
Yeah.
multiple times. So it actually was down before 5 o'clock and came back up. And I don't know how many times you revised and updated it, but it changes from the
Stare at
original
your emails
publication
all
on
day.
Thursday.
You stare at that website all day.
What?
You sit and watch that website all day?
No, I printed out in the morning, and then in the afternoon, it was blank, and then 5 o'clock, a new version came up.
Yeah, I'm for
I'm
2
learning
minutes. That's how the website works.
Check it late.
Do that, 'cause I don't check it again. That would be nice if we could get emails again when you change that, so we don't have to check it all the time.
Okay.
That would help.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm going to stay on script to be brief, and I respect your time. Hi, everyone. My name is Ethan Murphy, and this is my wife, Kelly.
Hi.
My daughter, Ruby. My son, Oscar. You may know me as one of the faces of the Middlebury Skate Park Project, an all-volunteer nonprofit based in Middlebury, working to bring a skate park to Middlebury. We know that the budget is not officially on the agenda tonight, but we also know that FY26 budget discussions are happening now, and that a budget transfer request for recreation is on the agenda tonight. At the end of October, we made a formal request to the Parks and Recreation Department to increase the proposed funding allocation for the skate park to keep up with and match our grassroots fundraising efforts, which now total just under $75,000. This increase for fiscal year '26 will allow us to complete design and full construction documents, to become shovel-ready, and to have matching funds for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. We made the same request to the Infrastructure Committee last week, although no action was taken. We thought that it would be helpful to attach names and faces to a very reasonable request that is still pending, especially given the timing of the one-time reallocation of significant recreation funds. So, we are the Murphy family, and we need a safe designated place to participate in skate park activities. We are 4 of the 700+ people who will benefit from this community asset that will be free and open to the public and designed for all ages, all abilities, and all wheels. We have proven that we are willing to work hard to help the town realize its stated goal of the 2013 town report to design and install a skate park at Recreation Park. We are seeking support from the town of Middlebury in fiscal year '26, as requested, to meet us in the middle to make this private-public partnership a success story. And that's from Ethan, Kelly, Ruby, and Oscar.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else here for?
All right, we are the Kin family. Some know us as the Kinfolk. I'm Melissa Kin,
Mila. I'm Ibis.
Mike?
and we are here also to advocate for support for the Middlebury Skate Park project, which we've been involved with for the past few years. Do you want to tell them your name, age, and what kind of wheels you like to use?
My name is Milo. I'm 11 and I scooter and skateboard.
My name is Ibis. I'm 15 and I skateboard.
And I'm Mom, and I've spent the better part of the year driving them back and forth to Burlington to go to A-Dog Skate Park just about every weekend. In the summer, it was a few times a week. And we usually are able to grab a few more friends with us to go to. And for me, it's been just such a pleasure watching them tackle these new endeavors. And when I don't know if any of you have ever been to a skate park before or been to A-Dog, but if you ever get a chance and you're just in the area just to take a moment and observe, It is so fun to watch because it's not just skateboards, like Ethan was saying, it's anything on wheels, so scooters, roller skates, rollerblades, bikes. And the one thing that's impressed me so much has been the encouragement and positivity and camaraderie I've seen at the skate park between lots of different age people and kids. And just, that's been a really beautiful thing that we need more of in this world, so. And since they started too, I dusted off my roller skates, and my husband Mike can maybe tell you a little bit more about his experience with getting back on his skateboard.
Yeah, I'm a 53-year-old now that has been skateboarding for the past year. I grew up skateboarding, but took it up again, and it does wonders for mental health. It gives me a reason to actually keep my core strength high, rather than just like a nefarious like looks. It really, I think it's a good proactive way for adults. It's not just for kids. It could be a really good thing for older adults to kind of help keep balance, help keep their focus, and keep them engaged in kind of the world and how their body moves in it.
Yeah, so I've just, same as what Ethan was saying, it would just be a really amazing thing if we had a safe, a designated space, because I know especially this one and his friends are skateboarding around town a little bit more, and I don't know if it's safe, and I don't know if they're skating in, you know, designated areas, but they're out there, and they're not sitting on computers or sitting on the phone. They're outside engaging with the world, moving their bodies. So yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you so much for having us and listening. Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Quick question for you. When you say what kind of wheels, does that mean whether it's a board or skates or?
Scooters.
Yeah, but when you ask that question, tell them what kind of wheels.
Oh, yeah, just, I guess it's just distinguish if he was on what he was using.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom. Woo! I'm sore-kneed. I'm Tom Caliandro.
I'm Francisca Drexel.
We're married, and we have 2 kids who are now adults thriving in the real world. Thank God. One of them was born and just raised herself. The other one was always needing a little more attention and encouragement. And with these 2 very different children, I don't know, we've learned some of the things that, I'm sorry, I should say that we are presently Weybridge residents, but we raised our kids here when we lived here. We lived on South Street and South Street Extension. The town, we felt, serves the town, the school, the rec center, serves sort of kids who color inside the lines really, really well. There is so much to do. If you're a team sports player, man, the opportunities are endless between the schools and the rec centers and other programs. For a different kind of kid, like our son, it's really tough. It's really lonely. He's not a team sport player, even though he's exceptionally athletic. And he started skateboarding in our driveway. The individual sports here, even something like golf, it's not that appealing to some kids because golf is, it's not a skateboarder's kind of game, but also it still involves a community activity. It's kind of forced. You play with others who you're assigned or you take with you. Skateboarding was nothing like that. He started doing it in the driveway, and this little kid developed an incredible skill and a passion and a compulsion for mastery of something. And it took this sad, lonely kid who had been killing everything imaginable in video games. I mean, it was just awful. It was just, it was, those dreadful games where the single first-person shooters or whatever they're called. He just got sucked into that. He found skateboarding, and it's like nothing I've ever seen. the community, if you go to the skate park in Burlington, the public one, it's remarkable. You see tech bros in their trucker hats and, you know, really, really nice sporting clothes. And you see people from a completely different world with tattoos and I used to be kind of frightened by that kind of stuff. I'll be very, very honest. I'm a wimpy 65-year-old white guy. But the respect that you see at a skate park, and I've been to others with my son, the respect you see for young kids from adults who are also skating or scooting, between the real hot shots and the little ones who are just learning, or the adults who are just starting, it's a fascinating, accepting culture. It's really remarkable. I really encourage you to hang out at the Burlington Skate Park one day on a nice Saturday, because pardon the hippie word, the vibe is just remarkable. And for our son, that kind of culture and that incredibly demanding physical activity, which he was just driven to get better at, and it's a common thing in that among people who skate. That's what they say. They call skateboarding skating. It's remarkable, and I feel really confident that if Middlebury builds a great skate park, that it would be one of the most, if not the most frequented public access facilities that the town could possibly build. And there would be I mean, I used to drive my kid to Bristol and then up to Burlington and down to New York. There was one, so it's remarkable, and I've spoken too long. Thank you.
Can you do me a favor?
Yes.
As Weybridge residents, can you go to the Weybridge Selectboard and ask them to support and contribute to this project, please?
I'd be very glad to.
I would
Yes.
be really appreciative of that, because
Yeah.
one thing that I struggle with, I should say, is these projects end up on the backs entirely of the Middlebury town of Middlebury.
Yeah.
But we know from your and the other people traveling, people go where the park is, right?
Yeah.
But the people who end up paying are the people of Middlebury, the town of Middlebury. So when we talked about this at infrastructure the other day, I really encouraged Ethan to go to the other towns in the county and ask for their contributions to this project.
Yep.
So it's not.
Be very happy to
You know,
understand what you're saying completely.
Yeah.
Little Weybridge, I don't know what they could give, but I will certainly ask.
Anything is better than
Yeah,
nothing,
of
right?
course.
And we don't get anything if we don't ask, so.
Absolutely.
given any?
I don't know, I just brought it up the other day, I don't think much has been done to ask the towns, but
We would have to
as,
check with both.
as Weybridge residents here at the Middlebury Select Board, I would just encourage you to go there as well and ask them to help us.
Thank you, good idea.
Yes,
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
yeah, thank you.
Hey everyone.
Welcome.
My name is Nadia, and I'm a student at Middlebury College, and I'm also here to support the Middlebury Skate Park project. I took some notes on my phone, so I'm not a screenager, I swear, I'm just trying to keep up. A little bit about me is that I originally am from Spain. I grew up in Barcelona, and Barcelona is commonly known as kind of like the skate capital of Europe. And I started learning how to skate in high school, and it's great to skate in Barcelona just because the city is very pedestrian friendly, public transportation is huge, and like the roads are just smooth enough and designed for skateboarding, hence like the skate capital name. And when I came to Middlebury, you know, I experienced lots of culture shocks, but one of them was just the fact that how, first of all, Middlebury isn't really designed for pedestrians. But on top of that, just the actual infrastructure is lacking for skateboarders to use. Like if you can't really just skate down the street because it's not smooth and you will get hurt. And so I think, you know, it's good to consider that, like even for people that don't like skate parks or skate parks aren't their thing, you can't really skate in Middlebury in general, so it kind of reduces that access to skateboard in general. And secondly, I think in Middlebury and Vermont, culture sort of privileges certain types of outdoor recreation over others. Lots of people like to hike, camp, everything in nature, etc. And we already know that those types of forms of recreation are already historically inaccessible to people of color, women, people with disabilities, etc. And also, in order to do a lot of those forms of recreation, you need a car. And as someone, I didn't have a car for most of the time at college, and so I couldn't even take part in the dominant forms of recreation. And so I think having a local skate park that you can easily walk to, not need to have a car at all, really it's a way of showing that this type of recreation is valuable and accessible, and can progress for Middlebury to have stronger and more inclusive forms of local recreation that are walking distance from the college, from people's homes, from schools, etc. As people said already, skateboarding really is so important for well-being, for physical and mental well-being. It helps people find new passions. There could be so many kids that could become pro skateboarders but can't do that just because they don't have any infrastructure to skateboard. And it has been one of my favorite ways to make friends and form community. And with that said, skateboarding culture isn't perfect. It's still, dominated by men, by white men, etc. There's lots of things that we can change. And something I wanted to highlight is that I'm part of Middlebury's outdoor club for people of color. It's called FIRE. And we recently had a really awesome collaboration with the Middlebury Skate Park Project, and had a skateboarding workshop for women, non-binary, trans people of color. And we had it at the mini ramp, but also at the pavilion under the teen center thing, because a lot of people, the workshop was designed for people who didn't know how to skateboard, and the pavilions area was the only area that was flat enough and good enough for people to learn how to skate. And we had a pretty good turnout, and even after the event, so many people came up to me being like, wow, I couldn't come to your event on Sunday, but I really want to come. And so I think, we're already creating community for people who are already historically excluded from the skateboarding community. And so I think, when we eventually have a skate park project, we can already start imagining radical ways we can, transform skateboarding culture and let Middlebury be a hub for that, which can really attract many types of individuals and marginalized peoples across Vermont, and can be a really good model for other skateboarding parks and communities across Vermont and such. And the final thing I wanted to say was that I studied abroad in Brazil last semester, which is really awesome. And that was the first place in a while that, I was in a small city, but they had a skate park. And it was a great way to meet female skaters like me, but also a really cool thing is that you don't only have to skate at a skate park. It's a really great way to just meet new people, and also a lot of people would just make art or eat and have picnics, and so it's really just a public space, a local public space, which I think Middlebury is really lacking right now. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Caroline Gillis. I am a former skateboarder, as you probably can't tell. I am also a skate mama to two boys aged 9 and 18. And the reason that I'm coming here tonight in support of the Middlebury Skate Park project is because, in part, I believe that there is a subset of the kids in our community that aren't getting their needs met. And other people have already spoken to this, which is that, it's great that tax dollars pay for local school teams, but there are kids in our community that will never fit in with traditional team sports. And a skate park would offer them an alternative, which would give them a different type of community to fit in with. And contrary to popular belief, skateboarders are not a bunch of ruffians. Over the last 15 years, I have spent hundreds of hours at skate parks in Bristol, Virgins, Rutland, Burlington, West Lebanon, Florida, Ocean City, New York City, all these different places. And I'm a mama, I'm a therapist. I also was a sociology major undergrad, so I like observing groups of people. And so my antennas were quivering to, how are these people treating each other? Are they kind? Are they supportive? What is this culture that my kids are getting exposed to? And consistently across the board, the skateboard culture was like, here you are, like with a lot of teenagers, which formerly were scary to me, but they were so supportive, like, hey buddy, like that was a great trick you just did, or are you okay? And one of the things that really strikes me that's kind of unique to skateboard culture is the culture of celebrating success. Like, it is an individual sport, but it's an individual sport that occurs within a community of people. And so you've got a kid that will do the same trick over and over and over and over, and on the 76th try will get it, and then a whole group of their peers will celebrate them. So not only are they experiencing a sense of mastery, but they have a group of their peers that are bearing witness to their mastery, which builds self-esteem. So the therapist in me is like, oh my gosh, this is building like self-esteem and identity and a sense of belonging, and I can't say how incredibly important that is. And someone else was also talking about accessibility. I mean, I work, thank you, counseling service of Addison County. I've had the luxury to have a very flexible work schedule. So I've had the luxury of being able to transport my kids during daylight hours to various skate parks. And I realize probably most families don't have that luxury. But if we were to have a skate park that is right here in town within walking distance of the schools, kids after school, they can walk right to the skate park. And, instead of rotting in front of electronics, for every hour they're at the skate park, they're breathing fresh air, they're getting exercise that is actually fun, they're interacting with live human beings, and they're building a sense of community, which is safe. And so you get mastery, sense of belonging, exercise. So I can't even speak to how amazing it would be if these kids that are kind of marginalized, they typically do not fit into the common mold, but if a skate park were made available, then these kids would have a place to go and have a sense of community. So thank you for considering.
Hi, I'm a student at Middlebury. My name is Murray Helzer, and skateboarding for me, coming into Middlebury from very far away, Arkansas, was a way for me to connect with students at the college, and also find new ways to explore the area, go out, see new places, and get introduced to new music while skating with other people. And as stated by the other people here, skating really creates work ethic and determination to learn something new, and also push other people to try to learn something new as well. And I think that having a skate park in the community would also create an opportunity for college students to be able to support younger members in the community through mentoring, other forms of teaching that could be valuable. And currently, the mini ramp has been one way that I've seen college students help younger kids do scootering. So I feel like if there was a way to really make that accessible to both parties, it would be through a cement skate park. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just, let me get a show of hands. How many more skate park people do we have? Okay, can we make it short? I think we've got the point, but
Hi, my name's Abraham Marino. I'm also a Middlebury College student. I'm going to be graduating in February, so I've been at the college a while. I was actually in attendance at one of the first meetings for the skate park project, and I've known Ethan Murphy a long time. He's been a friend on campus and a mentor to me for a long time now. And yeah, I had some notes, but a lot of people have talked on a lot of the points I wanted to make, and I'm glad people brought up how a lot of students and children are can be outcasted, might not fit in playing team sports or activities like that, and skateboarding, scootering is not just it's not just a sport or I guess an athletic outlet, but it's a creative outlet. People learn tricks differently. Being so immersed with this Middlebury skate community for so long, I've met so many different kinds of skaters, and it's a really beautiful creative outlet, and people do it so differently. People brought up the different kinds of wheels. I think I'm the only student in my 4 years here who's a scooter rider. I ride a scooter. I came here on a scooter. I do tricks on scooters. And it's a weird thing. I've had to explain it so many times in my life. Very similar to skateboarding, and I've done skateboarding for a long time. I've been doing it for 10 years. And I'm glad other people brought up the kind of negative connotation that skating and skateboarders have or could have. I was born and raised in Northeast Los Angeles. I'm an inner city kid. I'm a first generation high school graduate, first generation American, first generation college student. And scootering and skateboarding was an incredibly important outlet to me for my mental health. One of the most important things I think I kept up outside of my academics, scootering and having access to a skate park. It didn't just give me grit. It wasn't just a thing that kept me sane and all the things I struggled with growing up. It gave me the perseverance, trying a trick 100 times and falling and getting scraped up and getting up and trying it again is perseverance that I've applied to my academic life. And I've been an avid scooter rider throughout high school, throughout college, and it's gotten me this far. The skate community here has been the best opportunity for me to connect with the youth of Middlebury, and I have connected with a lot of kids here, showing them cool scooter tricks, and just they have so many questions, and I think it's great for people to see someone who enjoys the same thing they do and does well for themselves academically and can get to really far places, and I certainly have. So those are my 2 cents for the support of the skate park project.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Frank, can I say something about college students here?
It's really exciting to see this college students here tonight, and I have one suggestion. I can only speak for myself, but I think we're pretty much supportive of this effort and have been with giving land and stuff like that. But you college students might want to go approach the college and see what kind of funds you can bring from the college to the town to help build a skate park. Their pockets are significantly bigger than ours, and if you've got a strong group of people that want something done, they'd probably much rather have a skate park built down here and save some money, but support it. So I suggest you jump in there, become active up there.
All right, I'm the last one, hopefully. Anyway, I would like to thank the select board for their time in hearing about the skate park over and over. I know the municipal budgets are probably not the best, most fun thing in the world, especially of the last couple of years. My name's Kai Stanley. I'm a 38-year-old father of one. I've lived in Middlebury since the year 2000, and I'll just quickly go over my experience as a kid. Moving here my freshman year of high school, skateboarding was my main pastime. I vehemently opposed my parents sending me to summer camp. I told them to drop me off at the skate park instead, which they did, which was wonderful. And then we moved here, and there was no skate park. I skated at the college, was banned for 2 years with a no trespass from there. I had to get special permission to do volunteer at the Special Olympics at the college because they didn't let me. Anyway, so skateboarding is very difficult to do in Middlebury. My father built me a little box. We brought it up to the top of Chipman Hill where there's no one. I think there's a water something up there, big concrete block. Anyway, it was gone within a day, this thing that we built. It took a week building, so that was another, I was like, I guess I'm not skateboarding in Middlebury. Anyway, probably not the best idea to put a thing up there. I don't know what's up there. But,
Town reservoir.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, the public works officials right behind you.
I knew what we were doing. Anyway, it wasn't that heavy.
Yeah.
That's why you offend.
So, the lengths that kids are willing to go to skateboard. We don't want to destroy public property. We want to have a place that's safe, that's accessible, that's beautiful. You don't want, I mean, I'll build it if you want me to, but I don't have much concrete experience. I've put some crappy footings under our deck this summer, but I don't think you want me to do it. I think you should hire, like, the skate park committee's doing it the right way. Everyone's putting in a lot of effort, so I really appreciate your time, and I think it would mean a ton to the community. It would mean a ton for all the people of my generation who didn't have a skate park at all. You know, there were a lot of other things I ended up doing that would have been better off skateboarding. So, anyway, didn't like lacrosse. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thanks very much for the show of force and the diversity of experiences and approaches to skateboarding and skate parks generally, all different wheels. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Holly Stark, and not here about the skateboard park, but it's maybe a good segue. I see from from your agenda notes that you're putting together I'm here for the encampment policy, and I see that there's a draft that's being prepared, and I just want to continue to draw attention to it. I talk to people at work, I talk to people that I play hockey with, and everywhere I go, people talk about the encampment and how very bad it is for our town. And so I've been to a couple of the meetings, the Policy Review Committee and Public Health and Safety Committee, and, there's just it doesn't draw as much attention as the skateboard park. And, but I think it's really important, and it's kind of surprising to me because everywhere I go, everybody talks about it. So I just want to continue to draw attention to it, and I hope that that maybe there'll be further input after this draft is put forward. I'm really hoping that, Middlebury will learn from Burlington and Rutland and just how negative the consequences of allowing homeless people to just be in town. And, and my segue from the skateboard park is they talk, a lot of people were talking about kids need a place to go and that they could just walk from schools. And, and I'd reiterate that children walking around to go to the skateboard park, it's just very terrible if they're exposed to drug use and needles and horrible, unhygienic conditions. So anyway, I just wanted to bring this really important issue back to light again. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so you know, we're well aware of it. And this is we've charted what we feel is a very thoughtful process. And so the fact that it's not here doesn't mean we're not concerned about it. But we have tasked these committees with a process, and they're bringing it back to us. We've had a lot of discussion at the select board level, especially last year. The legal framework has changed some this year as a result of Supreme Court decision, which has opened up other options for us that did not exist last year. But we want to be very careful about the way we proceed, and so we'll just try and make sure that we're doing everything the right way and being very cautious about not just jumping into something. So that's our process. Thank you, Bill. Anybody else here for something that's not on the agenda? Doesn't leave many of you guys here. I know you say, how did you read that room and know there was people here for something not on the agenda? So we have a final public hearing warned for 7:10. I apologize if anybody's sitting here for that public hearing at 7:40. It's on the Lindale Mobile Home Park, community septic. This public hearing is being held as part of the terms of the $450,000 grant that the town received from the State of Vermont's Community Development Program for the installation of a community septic system at the Lindale Mobile Home Park on K Street. This effort included the demolition of existing septic facilities and the construction of new collection lines, a pump station, and a leach field. The hearing is designed to obtain the views of citizens on this community development effort, furnish information concerning the range of the specific community activities undertaken through this grant program, and give any affected citizen a chance to examine a statement of the use of these funds. With that, I'm going to open the hearing. Is there anybody here for this hearing? Is there anybody on the line that...
We have one hand up, Isaac, so I'm going to allow Isaac to speak, and then we have another from Elsie. Isaac? You are muted. If you can unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Isaac.
You can hear me? Elise Schambecker's on there somewhere as well.
Yes.
You might want to admit her. Well, this is going to be much less exciting than skate parks, but I just want to be a resource here. I'm the development consultant for the Addison Housing Works, and I've been working with Elise and her group for years to put this project together. And we finally completed it. We had a ribbon cutting. Tom was there, as well as Kathleen was there recently, and it's been a great project for the Addison Housing Works, as well as for the community of Lindale Park. So without going into any greater detail, I'd be happy to answer any questions from any members of the public or the select board about the project. And one final thing, this is a regular closeout hearing, so there's a series of hearings anytime you get a community development block grant. This is the final one, so we're pretty much done. We have a few pieces of closing paperwork that I'll work with Tom on. But we just want to give the public the opportunity to ask questions about the project and how it went.
Elsie's hand is up as well, so I'll allow her to speak. Elise?
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi, Elise.
Thanks for hosting us tonight, and I'll just reiterate what Isaac said. It's been a really successful project. For those of you who recall, we were really trying to solve some serious septic issues with the 60-year-old on-site septic systems at Lindale for a very long time. We pulled together about $5 million in resources, of which the town of Middlebury was instrumental in supporting a $450,000 block grant application through the Vermont Community Development Program. And now we have all 60 but also, you know, the park is in the source protection area for the town of Middlebury. Obviously, it's, you know, in the Lake Champlain watershed. So, you know, lots of goals being achieved with this project for the park and for the community.
I just want to thank you for all the work you did on this, Elise. It is a very good project for the community and secures long-term availability to a significant amount of housing for our community. So I know it's been a long haul, but thanks for carrying it through.
Thank you.
If there's no other comments, I'll move to close the hearing here and we'll move on with the agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, have a good one.
Thanks.
Emily.
Fire?
First up is the fire department, yes. Hey, firemen are here.
You look more like Anna White when you do it.
They're here in force.
There was a day when she had to physically turn those things, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hey, Dave.
The table's backwards, just one thing.
That's why everybody's nailing that.
Oh, man.
Oh, I could see a possible workman's comp coming right here.
That was it must have been somebody's attempt to try to limit the amount of people.
I think it's the temporary town manager up there.
It's funny.
I think. Yeah, you.
Hey, when you get a chance, can you look at your emails? There was more some proposed dates to go look at.
Okay,
that
I will do
process.
that, thank you. Yep.
You're not the first person to ask him to do that.
Yeah. Well, okay, down to business, so. Thank you for your time this evening. We're here as part of our equipment replacement plan for our wheeled equipment to replace a 21-year-old utility truck, which is a key component to our operation. In October last year, I asked Assistant Chief Selleck to chair a committee to replace this vehicle. And he accepted the challenge. We selected a committee, and the committee took off running. Their goal is to replace this 21-year-old equipment with like or better, and I believe tonight you'll see that they have dotted their I's and crossed their T's, and will present to you a solid replacement for this truck that'll last us 25 or 30 years.
Chief, excuse me, please. David, do you want to bring up the presentation so we can share it?
Summary work?
Yeah, sure.
And
Well,
we'll.
yeah, PowerPoint might be
And then
good,
there's a
yeah.
PowerPoint one before that.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is the vehicle we're in hopes to replace. It's been a wonderful vehicle, served the town well. The only thing we've done in the 21 years was adjust the shifting points in week number 6 of its life, and it's probably answered well over 5,000 calls for service. But it is time for it to be cycled out and be replaced with something a little more reliable. So Myron, go ahead, please.
Okay, so you can see, yes, thank you. On the process, I'm Myron Selleck, I'm Assistant Chief. I was the chairman of this committee, again, right? With us tonight, I have Lieutenants Blake Harrison and Scott Selleck that served on the committee. And we also asked Captain Leroy Graham to help us with preparing a wonderful PowerPoint, and he's also our numbers cruncher. I'm better at fire trucks than I am.
Spreadsheets.
Yeah, spreadsheets, yeah. Yeah, my spreadsheets are on the bed. Yeah, and we had Brian Hayes and AJ Rosbach, who was a recent graduate of Middlebury College, has worked with us, and she's out west fighting wildfires. We put a lot of time, we put a lot into this, yeah, there you go. We can go to the next screen, David. And we reached out to a few more companies than what are even here, but we started the process asking for a stainless steel body, realizing that that was probably just financially unreachable, we pared it back to an aluminum body that we have on our current truck. And we narrowed it down to the 4 companies you'll see on the screen. Allegiance, which is, represents Pierce, DeSourcy for E1, Lakes Region for a kind of a combination HME Alexis, and New England Fire, which was a Spartan cab and Spartan body. And don't be fooled, they're actually 2 different companies, even though they both have Spartan names. We came up with a wish list that we refined into a specification list of 146 requirements. And on the next screen, Leroy has done a nice job of making sense of our little scoring spreadsheet that we've utilized for the last 3 trucks, I believe. We did it with our ladder, we did it with engine 1, a different group did. And it works for us, and it works very well. And you can see how we give the weight to each of the 146 items. And then as each proposal comes in, we score how they fulfilled those requests. And we come up with a weighted score. And when you go to the next screen, which is scoring, we come up with the raw scores, the weighted scores, and then we normalize them. That makes a little bit more sense. And we'll have to say that this time, although the scoring works very well for us, that the Pierce and the Lexus HME trucks scored so closely that we had to go back and put the proposals side by side and literally go page by page to see the difference. And a lot of the difference you'll see, I don't know if it's the next page or not. It is the next page. When we go to the next page, I think it's Pierce differentiators. A lot of these were areas, sorry, I don't have it in the same order, that's my fault.
This one or?
No, the one you had, the Pierce differentiators. These were items that Pierce did a better job of either fulfilling our request or in many areas exceeded our requests. And we have a Pierce, our 2006 engines a Pierce, our 93 aerial that we used to have was a Pierce. And it's certainly been a good trucks for us. Pierce is a true single source supplier, so they build the chassis, they build the cab, they build the body, they put it all together. If there's ever a warranty issue, you don't have well, it's the cab builder, well, it's the body builder, it's you, it's one. Allegiance Fire and Rescue, that the local dealer now has a service center, I think it's in Jericho, so that certainly was weighing into us. How far is it to get serviced? We've had former Pierces that we've driven to Walpole, Massachusetts, and that's quite a little ride. One of the big things that I pick out of the differentiators is the Haas anti-collision system. This is available from any manufacturer for a price tag. Pierce makes it standard equipment. They're just not going to sell a truck without this. And I'd have to have the chief help me explain it, but it really computerizes the truck, and when it says anti-collision, it will brake the truck, it will take the accelerator away from you, and it keeps you out of rolling the truck over. Or, we have the same system that we have on engine 1 that works.
Engine 1 has a HON system,
Yeah.
and fortunately or unfortunately, we used it within the first 6 months of ownership of that vehicle. So that HON system is a key element for sure.
So anyways, without belaboring all that, then you go to the pricing and the hard conversations. And Pierce, not unlike Pierce, to come in with a higher price. I traditionally in the past few years, I say past few, since I think engine 3 in 2006, we've taken advantage of cash discounts. Having the wheeled equipment replacement fund certainly aids in that. And so we have the I'll call it the all-inclusive price, and you can also compare that with the net prices. Allegiance, originally, their all-inclusive price was higher, and I said, we like your product, but I don't like your price. And I'm not saying I still love the price, but we did get them to pare that down, and then they started, well, we can only do it through October 31st, and I said, well, that's okay, but we're not meeting with you folks until tonight. So if you want to play in our sandbox, do better. And one of the things I'll say for the salesman, for the dealership, and for the manufacturer, they just worked as a team to say, we're going to do what we can to get this price down to what you see in front of you. And that meant a lot to me. You know, you sort of buy a salesman and the dealership along with the truck. And the gentleman, the salesman, Bill Kimball, has worked really hard with our committee. And,
so at the end of the day, the recommendation of the committee is to purchase the Pierce from Alliance, from Legions, for $948, $412. It has a 1,000-day build time, which seems relatively impossible, right? But that's the reality of the world today, is it's a 1,000-day build time. Yeah, so 3 years.
3 years.
There may be some advantage for us not to take the cash discount. The 1.1 million is currently drawing 4.6% interest in the town's accounts. It may be in our best interest to waive the cash discount and pay the suggested retail price, and save some money on the other end of that. So it's roughly about $50,000 a year in interest. Take that over the 3-year build time, that's $150,000. We could come out $75,000 or $80,000 ahead by skipping the discount.
Even with the short-term rates are dropping, but still not gonna drop that much.
Yeah,
So
Nicholas.
we have to pay when we order to get the cash discount?
No, we pay when the truck is complete.
no, if you went with a cash discount.
Yes, right, we would
Yes.
pay in advance, like we have done with all the other
Yep.
equipment. All of our fleet has been cash in advance,
I
but
think any of them took 3 years. to build.
no, all of them were a year or less, and so then it was in the town's best interest to take advantage of the cash discount, but.
So if you pay now
Right.
for it, how do you save 50,000 a year in interest if the money's gone?
No, you
No,
have
they
to
don't.
address it not to.
Not to pay it now.
Oh, I see, I see.
Not to pay, pay upon delivery.
Okay, thank you.
And so, the price would be guaranteed though? We give them a deposit or something? Or
Yep.
is it just a
Yep.
purchase order?
I think you have to give them a deposit as well, yeah, some form of
Is that
deposit.
5%?
It might be 10%.
Yeah, I think it's like 10% of the price, yeah.
And,
And that locks in the new engine, so the new Cummins engine is in this proposal. In the Cummins, it's the new, or in the Pierce, it's the new style engine. And the modeling and that type of stuff even hasn't been done yet, but they're absorbing all that cost in their setup. Where the other two, one can offer the new engine, the other one has a stock of the older Cummins engine. We're a complete Cummins engine operation, which really helps standardize parts for the town mechanic. The town gets a much better offer when we run all the same type of structures, so.
The Spartan proposal said it would be the X10 Next Gen Cummings. And it also had a clause in there that there could be additional charges because none of the fire truck manufacturers have the X10 that they can redesign their chassis and the cabs for cooling and et cetera. So they don't really know. Pierce said, we're gonna put a number in this and it's guaranteed. And
Is there a trade-in value for the whole truck?
There is a trade-in value, yeah.
Is it included in this one?
It is not, because historically those funds go back into town general.
Any idea how much?
We'll ask $50,000 for it. We'll probably get $35,000 for it. The used market is just crazy expensive right now.
New car.
The 2003 price was $208,000. This is like 5 times more or less. Is it differently equipped, this new one, or is it just the price went up that much?
The price definitely went up that much. There is some additional, this truck's a little larger than the one that we have now, but the price has gone up, yeah. Well, there's no coffee makers or hot tubs or anything like that built in this truck. First of all, I wouldn't allow it. Second of all, these guys wouldn't build it. They pay taxes in this community. They understand.
So, for the benefit of people at home and who are not anywhere near the experience that you have with all of this, they wonder, what is a utility truck?
Yeah.
Can you give us a simple?
Yeah, great question.
It's not just something for carry tools, it's got some
This is a
specialized equipment.
key component in our fleet. This truck carries all of our extrication equipment, it carries a third of our air packs, all it carries our entire stock of replacement bottles. It carries our complete hazmat deployment. So it's a key truck that carries, and it carries 6 additional personnel for us.
Light tower, generator,
Light tower,
inflating
generator.
bags that lift beams and
All that
cars.
stuff is on this truck, yeah. If this truck doesn't make it, we're in trouble.
So, just in terms of sort of benchmarking, is it common for towns like Middlebury to have a highly customized truck, or is there a standard one that some towns get? And tell us.
Yeah, so it is very standard to have a customized utility truck to meet your individual specifications of what's going on within your community.
Every fire department has it?
Every fire department has some form of a utility. A smaller department has a much smaller truck, and they carry those ancillary items in that truck. You have to bring them on one piece of equipment or other. So you either build a big pumper that carries everything, or you put it on a second truck that goes to, this utility truck goes to every single call. Unlike a pumper that may not go to a call, this utility truck goes to every single thing we have.
And the second thing, in the infrastructure committee meeting, you explained how the town has a fire equipment fund.
Yes.
2 cents on the tax rate, and it raises
$197,000.
a year. So let's call it 200,000. Over 5 years, you can accumulate $1 million to be able to afford equipment like this.
Yeah.
When's your next truck that you got to replace, and is it sooner than 5 years because you're about to exhaust?
Right. No, the next truck will be our support pickup that carries all of our gear back and forth from the fire calls. So OSHA standards prohibit us to wear gear back in the truck that is laden with smoke and hydrocarbons. So we have to take that off and strip it off. And so everything that's used in a fire now is put in the back of that pickup truck and brought in an open air pickup truck, brought back and sanitized. Those carcinogens are killing us. So the quicker we can get them off our body and into a truck and washed and laundered. So that'll be our next minor. I call it a minor purchase because it has far less zeros than these trucks for sure.
And you indicated that you got a spreadsheet that this truck and the other future ones that you need, and they're paid for by this fund?
Some 40 years ago, the town said, let's put a 25-year plan together and show us when you want to replace these vehicles and how much your estimated cost would be. And so I participated in the first one, and then we took care of the second one. Now we're on our 3rd iteration of that. But the fund will not support our needs moving forward. It's going to be a little light in a few years. There's some ways of working around that. I think a small increase to the fund could take care of that. We're also, looking at the way we build stuff and how we build stuff. And our goal always is to bring in the biggest, reddest, shiny truck we can for the least amount of money. And I think we can still do that, but it's more and more pressure onto the committee to do that. But our goal is always to stay within our means. And maybe Brian, you have a better sense, but I don't know what a truck's gonna cost or a tractor's gonna cost 20 years from now. I did my best guesstimate, but it's really difficult to go that far out and have some sense that you're on the mark.
And you said at the infrastructure meeting, you're aiming for something for 30 years. The aluminum body that's thicker and the things that will, because as opposed to, I don't know if you could get something less expensive for 20 years on the theory that fire equipment's going to change, you're going to have whole new compartments.
Yeah, we looked at we were proposed a lighter weight aluminum, and that lighter weight aluminum, you have to structurally support it somehow. So you're either going to spend it on the aluminum or the structure of the truck, and it's the committee's opinion that we should have gone with a heavier gauge aluminum, less structured to put together in truck, more compartment space for us to put more of our stuff into there.
But I was planning for 30 years. Hasn't there been pretty dramatic change?
There is.
Over the years and all that.
When this fund started, we did 20 years, and then we moved to some of these to 25, and then at the 25, we went back and looked at the entire fund and said, could we take a tanker truck, for example, that we have to have, that is used less than an engine, and stretch that out to a 30-year? And we can, and we will. And so not all trucks will come before you at the 20-year mark. Some will come here at 25, some will come here at 30, based on their frequency of use and how long we can stretch that fund out, and the availability of parts.
Dave, just to go back to this particular one that's on the agenda. The Pierce, I get all on the Pierce, just help me with Pierce and the Alexis HME, are those Pierce differentiators, are none of those, or are there key ones that are not on the Alexis?
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'll defer that to Myron.
Yeah.
He was the chair of the committee.
I got rambunctious and packed my stuff up because I usually have it scattered everywhere. Pardon me. So,
Put it right here.
there you go, thank you. So, some of these we were trying to pare down. There again, we were doing some cost savings. So Pierce offered the structural bumper, similar to what we have on our engine one, our Rosenbauer. It would handle an impact much better. HME was a shiny bumper. HME could put Haas anti-collision on it. It wasn't offered as part of the package. They all are available.
50, I think $50,000.
The PTO generator, which we have on our current truck, and we've had, it's been seamless. The Onan has been absolutely seamless. HME proposed, we requested it, a PTO. They proposed a hydraulic, where you just have a hydraulic pump under the chassis, and you have to make room up on top of the truck for the physical generator. We have that on our engine 3. It takes up space, there's more parts to it, it costs more. We had pared down the capacity of our generator from 25 to 15 or 10, if I remember right. And Pierce said, we can give you a 25 kW PTO generator, and it's gonna be cheaper than if we go with a smaller model. Oh, okay. We requested the Wilbert manufactured model night scan light tower. That's what we have. We just want to take and get the old halogen lights off and put LEDs on the new tower, but literally it's the same manufacturer. For some reason, the HME spec came in with a command zone. The first one, when we were talking stainless steel, had the Wilbert, and then they changed. I think dollars-wise, that's probably similar, but it's not what we asked for. The hazmat absorbent for the speedy dry hopper, we were pretty adamant that we want exactly what we have on this 2003. We have aluminum piping, and we have a really nice latching butterfly valve, and we had even problems with engine 1 that came in with a PVC ball valve, and a lot of folks, including HME, came in with like an RV sewer valve, a little slide gate, and we just feel that it wouldn't service us. This butterfly valve we have on the current truck has worked. We haven't had to have any repairs, and when we want to shut it off, it shuts off. And we had some that terminated inside the compartment and had a flexible hose you had to stick outside. I could see raising up the overhead, the roll-up door, and having the compartment full of speedy dry. Oh Lord, let's not do that. We asked for a 50-gallon fuel cell, and Pierce just offered a 65-gallon. I guess that's their standard. I don't know. The price guarantee for the X10 compared to Spartan, HME actually had an L9. They said they can put an L9 in it, but there was these other things. I said, when we really put them side by side, how do they weigh differently? There were some little things, and like I said, the biggest one for us, I think, was the single source. Pierce is a single source manufacturer. I've been to Appleton, Wisconsin back in 2006 when we got our engine 3. It's a pretty impressive place. You know, their showroom is the blue floor. They have a 4-bay fire station that you inspect your trucks. But these were just, I said, these were areas that we felt made Pierce stand out above all the other competitors.
You know, because the process after we score it, we don't introduce the price. The committee works on the 3 or 4 trucks side by each and weighs those out, and then the price comes in at the very end. So they're not trying to shop the most expensive truck or the cheapest truck. They're trying to shop the truck that meets the needs the most, and then I bring the price in at the end.
And the reason why I asked is because, and I just wanted to put it on the records. I mean, you're very close on the scoring. You're 1 normalized score at 1 point and 3 points on a weighted score, which is statistically even.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so, but the price is, it's not quite quite 80 grand, what is it, 76 grand more? And so I was just trying to, in my own mind, understand, are we getting 76 grand more truck? As a equipment dealer, I totally get the single source manufacturing and how critical that is, especially when it comes to service afterwards and whatnot. But it sounds like you got a lot more other differentiating factors.
Yeah, and service is a real problem. Right, you know, we just can't run it around the corner, can't take it to Randy's or Mike's, we gotta, so that service component is a heavy, we can take it to Randy's and Mike's, you probably won't be happy. But, yeah, as you know, you're chasing all over the state trying to service stuff, it's a huge component on a weighted system.
Well, you made the case, though, that by getting the Cummins, it's the same engine that you have in your other equipment, and that the town mechanic can
Eric does a great job,
You know,
absolutely.
do some
Yep.
simple maintenance of a.
Yep.
in
He's
your-
got a room full of filters that are a lot less because we're packing the same engine. Yeah.
It's still a lot of money.
It is.
Oh, it's crazy money.
Any other questions?
The current truck is still operational?
It is.
But it's.
We did find a gear tip in the oil pan. We don't know where that came from, nor did we ask.
Oops.
We did take it up to the service dealer and have the front of the engine pulled apart, and we couldn't find where it came from, so we don't ask it and it doesn't offer it to us, and we're just gonna keep running it until,
This is the last 3 more years.
yes.
Yeah, hence the reason one of the very small items on our 146 items is magnetic drain plugs. Something
Yeah.
as simple as that, you know?
Yeah, you find it right away.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the proposed purchase of a new fire utility truck from Pierce Manufacturing for an amount not to exceed the $1,025,683.
Second.
The second, questions, comments?
Chief, I hope by the time we retire the new engine, that we have a regional view of fire safety.
I would hope to give you some progress. I wouldn't wait by the phone, please.
Indeed.
I think we should just, as a board, recognize that we ought to have the town staff analyze what, just take a look at it, verify whether we take the cash discount or not. I think our
Which one is
belief
Yeah.
is it's probably better not to, but I think, I appreciate you making the motion for the
Yeah, that was
larger
good.
amount. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
500 plus hours.
Still married.
Now you just have to wait.
Maybe
1,000
you
days.
are.
Now you just have to wait 1,000 days.
And I would wait 500 hours.
Brian, we have a hand up from Judy. So I'll allow her to speak.
Judy, are you there?
Judy, you're muted, if you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I have a question.
Shoot.
Yes, Judy?
I'm concerned that the meeting is not coming across easily. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so my comment is, I have not, in my time on the infrastructure committee, I have not heard a more lucid, a more research-based argument for the fire department's budget. I have seen and heard others who just assume that because they're locals, that they're
fire department's budget or any other budget in my entire time on the infrastructure committee. We tend to approve, we tend to do the same old, and here comes a group that has research, that has arguments based in fact, that doesn't just come on prior history. I'm impressed. I am so freaking impressed. And Chief Shaw and your group, I applaud you. And now I ask the select board meeting or the select board members to do the same. Do your research. Thanks. Bye.
Bye, Judy. I'll have to have Chief Shaw watch the video to get the laudatory comments since they're all gone. I'm not sure what I just got my butt leaned on, but.
I think she made the same at infrastructure, while the fire department was there. Well, you know.
Let's go on.
Yeah.
Okay, Emily.
Hello. Okay. So, short and sweet, do you want project updates?
We can read them on
We can
our
read the
own
minutes.
letter.
The minutes will be out soon. Beth and I have been working on, well, Beth has been working on them. I will soon be working on them.
Not record?
What's that?
Did it not record?
It's a little spotty.
Oh.
It sounds like, I think this side of the room, she was having troubles with. Oh, right, because yeah, I think we're gonna bring a hand recorder from now on, just as a backup thing.
I took some pretty detailed notes if you want.
I told her that you might have done such a thing.
Bad habits, way back.
Moving along, the main pump station, we have a building down there, which houses, it's the Lakeside building, but it, is in desperate need of some attention. Bob and I had initially put some funding into a maintenance fund for a roof replacement, but the doors are now in need of repair, and so we could potentially fund it out of that source, but I think it's better suited to pull it out of the wastewater capital fund, just to sort of protect that maintenance fund effort. And these were items that were already in the preliminary engineering called out as necessary replacement. They'll just get advanced slightly. So Jeremy put it out to bid to 3 different companies. Bread Loaf was the only respondent to the opportunity, and so they have created a bid for $26,600 for the replacement of the Headworks door and doing some of the framework also. The doors are literally falling off of the building at this point.
I'll move to award the contract to Breadloaf for $26,600 for the replacement of the Headworks door at the town of Middlebury's wastewater pump station, main wastewater pump station.
Second.
Seconded. This was vetted through IC.
Yes.
Yep. I will, on that same note, we are doing a tour of the plant and the pump station, main pump station tomorrow at 10. If anybody
See those doors.
cares, yes. Just, we were thinking, because we have the engineer coming at our infrastructure committee meeting next week to go through the final-ish preliminary engineering report. So I just wanted to get as many committee members, but definitely open to select board, town manager, anybody who would like to attend 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Questions or comments on this? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Next on our agenda, we have a water allocation request for 207 Pulp Mill Road in Weybridge. I know there's been back and forth about out-of-town tap-ons, and I believe back in April, we started to go through it. I wrote out an allocation request process that we need to advance through the policy committee, but we haven't made it to that step yet. But essentially, Otter Creek, Jason LaRock has been working on this project. It's a property that would be subdivided. The only physical way to subdivide it would be to have water and wastewater.
So this is a pre-existing lot that was created back in 56 on Pulp Mill Ridge Road. It's right across from Otter Creek Circle, or Otter Creek Lane. It's a roughly a three-quarter acre parcel that, without municipal connections would be difficult to develop. It was owned jointly. It was owned by an adjacent property owner that since passed. They sold them as two separate lots. This connection isn't an extension of the infrastructure. It connects to an existing line that's on that side of the street, relatively new lines, and water and sewer. Relatively new infrastructure. The water's on that side of the road. We'll have to cross the road to connect to the sewer. The water was put in, it's an 8-inch ductile iron main. It was put in 2015. The sewer, this is the end of that the sewer line, and that was put in 95. So in the grand scheme of things, it's relatively new infrastructure. So.
And all the places around it are on?
Yes. Yep. Well, that's not true. Orchard Lane is not. Those are all wells and on-site septic. So this is a smaller lot. Wouldn't be viable without those connections. This is a multi-step process. You guys are the first step in this process. Once we get approval, we'll be talking with Weybridge Fire District number 1 that owns the sewer line there. And then we'll need a wastewater permit through the state and building permits through the town of Weybridge.
So it's just a question of hydraulics and,
So once again, it's new infrastructure. The sewer goes to pump station 9, I believe it is. That's also been rehabbed, probably roughly the same time as the sewer line was installed. From the water perspective, this is one of the main loops across the creek. I estimate, based on pressure readings we have in that general area, we're in excess of 100 PSI at that location. So there should be no issue in providing water or sewer service for this property.
So the sewer service goes along Pulp Mill Bridge Road and then angles across?
Yes, it does.
So we're another vacant lot, say, up between Otter Creek Lane, wanting to tap on?
There's no other vacant lots.
There aren't?
That I'm aware of.
Okay. I usually, only a matter of time before somebody.
They're all small lots on Pulp Mill Bridge Road.
Well, it's just that it's awkward for the town of Middlebury. Just as a matter of hydraulics, it's not a concern. There's no apparent burden on the town. The issue with private services and out-of-town services in the past has been a complication of what if it's daisy-chained, to other properties in the future. Who owns that, manages it, and then it's awkward for the town of Middlebury to control something outside of its borders. So what the board decided back in April was, this concerned the Tucker line, which there was an agreement on, but that the policy ought to be revisited, and Emily did do a draft of this, and one of the things that was talked about in the minutes of Select Board 423 was that we hoped that individual requests wouldn't have to come to the board. Now Heather may not agree with that. I was having a conversation with her earlier about it. whether it's necessary for individual things, why couldn't the director of engineering or planning be able to determine whether the hydraulics are okay and go through a process, and maybe some appeal would come to us if there was a real problem, but I just, anyway, that's, the other awkward thing about it is that the select board has prior motions and policies that say we're never gonna have another connection request out of town.
Right.
So the only policy we are following is that this policy can be waived, and has been 3 times this year. It's a little awkward for us to, so I think we need to get this procedure done and formally adopted by the board.
Yep. This does seem like one of those realms where the experts have more insight into whether this is a burden on the system or has these potential repercussions than this lay board that is sitting here hearing the particulars.
Well,
yeah, we should
Yeah,
kick it over to policy review.
Yeah, I think there's still some benefit, as we are the water commissioners for the town.
Sure.
That when we're talking about out-of-town tap-ons, that it still come before the board.
Sure, but I think that if it's
But I
a
think we need
clear-cut situation,
we
right?
need, we need a recommendation though from the,
Yeah, and it could be consent agenda-y stuff instead of engineer's time.
Yep.
If everything is good and clean. Cool.
So I'll move to authorize the water allocation from the town of Middlebury's water and wastewater systems for the resident to be built at 207 Pulp Mill Bridge, I always wanna put bridge in there, sorry. Pulp Mill Road in Weybridge.
Me too.
Second.
Sorry.
I seconded.
So Emily, you're recommending this?
Yes.
Any questions? Comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Nice to see you.
Thanks.
Oh, that's it, huh? Wow, this is an easy night for you. Okay, Chief. New road name, Lucy's Way.
Yeah, this is an easy one. There was a third residence being built on Burchard Park off a little spur road that didn't heretofore have a name. State requirement says we now have to give the road a name, and it'll get a different address for those 3 properties. The only thing we really have to do is approve the name of the road. There is no competing or any similar name for any road in town, and they've recommended Lucy's Way. The residents that live up there are fine with it, and I see no reason to object to it.
Questions?
I noticed something in the state naming standards, I'm trying to get there now, about not using non-standard characters. And I wasn't sure if possessive apostrophes or standard characters in road names.
I think we would leave the apostrophe out and just call it Lucy's Way.
Fantastic.
Difficult to print the signs.
Yes.
I'm impressed, that 85-page document that you sent us on the state addressing standards, 30 pages of which are intentionally blank. You picked that out. I missed that.
Any comments? Have a motion?
For state of Vermont E911 standards, I move to approve the proposed naming of the private roadway perpendicular to Burchard Park as Lucy's Way.
Without the,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, Scott, we're ready for this.
Good evening, everyone. I am here not to ask for money. I'm here to hopefully push some money around a little bit. Just to give a little, kind of a little preface to this. When our capital budget was moving forward after Bill Kernan left, there were some projects that I noticed that since I've been around for the last 7 years or so, that I know there's some projects that haven't moved forward, especially one that was created for getting signs that were going to be put around town for $20,000. $20,000 or so. And I followed that up when I became superintendent, and it ran into a bunch of permitting issues, and it was basically not gonna be possible to do it with the parameters that were set at the time. The company grew increasingly frustrated, and they said that was that. So that left $20,000 of that particular project. I was getting calls from Nicholas saying, hey, what's going on with the sign project? What's going on with the sign project? And I was like, well, it's essentially dead. So we fast forward a little bit, and there became a very, very present need at the rec facility to increase our security. It's become a bit of a target. Two people tried to smash through my office window the other night with rocks. Our cameras are antiquated. They're there from the beginning of the rec when it began. The doors became broken, and the people were able to basically get inside the rec, and we have found them sleeping on the couches inside the rec. We had a gentleman who threatened my assistant with a gun and threatened to come back and shoot everybody in the rec. So Tom and I had a discussion a while ago about, Tom was like, you secure that building any way known to man, basically. And my thought was, at the time, wait a minute, we have to spend this money. We already had a quote from the Royal Group that it would be about $12,000 to fix the front doors. And Bill at the time was like, yeah, we need to do that. We need to find $12,000, basically. So I said at the time, well, we have $20,000 in a sign project that is not moving forward. Is there any chance that we can reallocate that $20,000 to cover the cost that is urgently needed to cover the security of the rec? And that began a process of discussion with Nicholas, with Chief Hanley, with David, with Emily. So therefore, that is what's brought me to you this evening, to take some of these funds, or some of these funds that were dedicated to certain projects that are no longer in existence. For example, we had $5,000 set aside for very, very sturdy metal picnic tables for the pavilion in Rec Park. We had $5,000 set aside for it. The Lions Club, wonderful group of people, came in and said, hey, guess what? We have $5,000. We'll purchase them for you. You put them together, put them in there. That's $5,000 that we now can hopefully move to something much more appropriate to exactly what our needs were. So I went before the infrastructure a couple weeks ago, and Emily was there, and Heather was, obviously there, and we mentioned at the time that this is something that I was desiring as a chance to move some of these funds to something that would be more available to what our present needs are, and that was coming before you.
So there's several requests as part of it. Talks about the security. There's also the gym floor resurfacing, and pool repairs and some court work. Are there any questions, Scott, on any of these?
So, Scott, I'm not sure I'll remember correctly, but I feel like the water park is a little bit misleading.
Correct, yes.
In that it was supposed to replace the top pool with a more accessible, less maintenance, kind of like sprinkler park for
Correct.
tots.
Yeah.
Because there were some issues with the top pool, the way it's designed and set up, and I think there were leaking and stuff. So I felt like water park was a little misleading in what that money was supposed to be for. Do you think at the time, I thought it was beneficial that we spend that money to change that top pool setup?
Correct, yeah.
Do you think we'll still achieve that with moving that money into pool repairs, or will that money end up just fixing other things about the pool?
I think that it's a very good question. The kiddie pool has been an issue for quite some time. Bill did, and I can only say this because I am transitioning from Bill and know exactly what he was mentioning as what his priorities were. And his priorities were to basically tear out the whole thing and create basically a full-on water park with all kinds of different features and everything. That was not something that I thought, considering what the price tag was, because it was going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, because all new plumbing would have needed to be able to put in. And essentially, when we get down to it, it's open 2 months out of the year. And so Emily and I met today, and we decided to basically take some of those funds that were earmarked for a specific project and move it into more of a general fund. So basically, I can spend more time researching, because the breadth of the kiddie pool revitalization, if we want to call it, never really made it past that initial phase. And it is something that I am interested in following up on, but it's also something I'm interested in following up on very carefully and very prudently.
We have a hand from Ann Christie. Just tell me when. Okay. Ann, if you can unmute yourself.
There it is. Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Christie.
Hi, Ann.
I'm not sure that you're aware, but the sound quality tonight is such that most words, many words, parts of the words are dropped out, and I cannot make out what the actual word is. So it's really hard to listen to the sound. Just wanted you to know, if you didn't know
Thank you.
already. Well,
Thanks for letting us know, Ann.
Yes.
Other questions for Scott?
Scott, a lot of people came out tonight talking about the skate park. Is there a place for that in our capital budget? Where do you foresee money becoming available for that? Is that a priority of the rec department?
Yeah, the skate park is, I've been working with Ethan from the very beginning. I helped him find the land, and he's been a part of our capital budget, level funding was 5,000, we've increased it to 10,000. As far as the long-term vision of that goes, I am extremely interested, I do support the skate park. As far as, if that, I am very intent on making sure, as I said to Emily today, I'm very intent on making sure that our house is completely in order as far as the pool is concerned, as far as any reparations that need to be done there, because the pool is 50 years old. Our rec center is 10 years old, and it's already falling apart. So I am definitely in support of the Middlebury Skate Park. And when those funds, if approved, we can move into a more general setting. If it was moved into for example, like a rec park category, which we worked on today, I can make those funds available if necessary, when we get to that point.
What's the projected budget to build out that skate park?
350,000 to 500,000.
And the next step was to engineer?
Next step was to design it.
There's geotech going on right now.
Right now for engineering.
And then we would have the ability to get an engineered price. So really, we're not quite ready to even take that up.
Yeah, so, I was gonna say this just for select board comments, but, they brought a request to the infrastructure committee last week, cause Emily had, in our budget discussion, we had put 10,000 in there, and we had reduced it to 5, is that?
The first round, we had 5 in there, and then they came to our second round.
So their request was for 50,000, and I apologize, my comments in that meeting probably prompted the outpouring of support, because I'm feeling a lot of pressure in the capital budget particularly, and also, I don't know what our operating budget's gonna look like, but knowing the situation with, healthcare costs this year, I didn't feel comfortable just automatically putting $50,000 in that capital budget for the skate park. I felt like it was a want and not a need, and that we had a tremendous amount of needs this year. And so I personally was struggling with that request for 50,000. Not that I don't support the skate park, not that I don't want to see it happen, just that current, condition of the budget and the things, you know, a $50 million wastewater treatment upgrade, the library project, I just felt like it was too much of an ask for this year. So I think my comments in that meeting probably prompted the outpouring of support. And I've made it clear multiple times
Right.
that I do support the project. I'm just struggling with putting that much money this year in the budget, so.
Correct. And if I may comment on what Heather said, and I agree with you, Heather. This is my first budget process. This is the first time I've gone through it beginning to end. And though I absolutely do support the skate park project, as you do, Heather, I just feel it is incumbent upon me at this particular time to be able to go through, and I'm finding things that need to be fixed and things that need to be replaced almost on a weekly, maybe a monthly basis. And like I said, though I am in support of that, we increased the budget yearly to $10,000. And I know that in 26, they want to up that to $50,000. And I do think that is a tough ask, considering that there's many other things that I am becoming aware of in my role that I absolutely believe need to be taken care of first.
Yes?
I just wanted to comment on that, given that I've been at the infrastructure committee now for a while. Yes, happy to. What's asleep?
So's my brain.
Yeah, all right. I'm Jeff Bratsmus. I serve as the chair of the infrastructure committee. My comment regarding this part of the select board meeting, and I know this is something we're going to talk about more. How do we fund these initiatives in Parks and Rec? My comment is that I think that this conversation is misplaced. I feel like this conversation should happen at the infrastructure committee level, given that we are in the middle of the process of approving the capital budget. This slide is new to me, as it is new to all of you. And I feel like Scott needs to take a few days, prioritize exactly what he wants to see in fiscal year 26, bring it to our upcoming infrastructure committee meeting, and let us follow the normal process that we do for all these capital projects, as diverse as they are, and bring back to you, a budget. And I feel like the members of the infrastructure committee meeting should have an opportunity to weigh in on this. I'm not saying that there won't be some kind of modification or amendment to these funds, but Scott mentioned he's got a lot that he wants to ask for, and I think that it should happen at the infrastructure level first, and then come to you guys, as I expect most of the other department heads would do and have done. So Scott was on vacation at our most recent infrastructure committee meeting, and I think had he been there, the process would have probably gone the way that it normally, in my experience, the way that it normally would go. So that's my comment for tonight, and
So, sorry, I'm just gonna say that I think, I'm sorry, Jeff, I'll just disagree a little bit in that this is actually moving money that we already have sitting, and I think it's the select board's job to approve moving that money around. And I do agree, the process of like the budgeting should go through the budget, but I think this is separate than the budget. This is, I think the two have gotten mixed up in our conversation. So, I'm not opposed to the request for moving capital money that's already been allocated between, we've done it before, right? Like, when we've needed money for other projects, past town managers have found money sitting in places where the project's been completed and there's some money left, right? I'm not necessarily opposed to proceeding with this request. And I think proceeding with this request maybe makes a change to what he might request in FY26 budget, which is still in process and we'll talk about and hopefully finalize next week, so.
So I just have a naive question. So anything that has capital budget on it, the infrastructure committee, even if it's a department capital, it's a capital budget for the rec department?
That's all, the entire capital budget is reviewed by.
Okay, but if you already, like Heather says, if you already have the budget established to do things, then you have to go back to the infrastructure committee to have it approved, or?
That's the question.
Yeah, I know, I just don't,
I think historically, we've just.
I haven't heard it,
Historically, we've just come to the select board.
That's what I
first.
thought.
It's like once a year, there might be funds that get reallocated and it just comes to this.
So, capital budgeting process is about putting money going forward.
I got it.
But there's fund balances in all of these projects and accounts that have accumulated, and some have a lot more reasons for them than are evident just by looking at the fund balance. And I'm learning much more about this from Heather. But there are some cases where there might be money that might be available to be moved to take on things.
Obviously.
Or reduce the net amount we have to ask for taxes this year. And I think that's where it's confusing for those of us who are new.
Well, I'm not new, it's just,
No,
it's
well,
just, I just know the way we've done it, and I'm just,
Well, there isn't enough detail on what,
So
the fund balance is saved for in all of these.
Historically, the capital budget has been very detailed, like, for instance, the water park. Like, we have this line item that says water park and we put money in it, and then so when you have detail like that, you can only spend that money on that specific purpose. And one thing we've been working on this year is trying to, broaden those categories so that, money, it's not so specific. So like pool repairs, right? We can, it's not like, it doesn't say bleachers for the pool. It says pool repairs. So whatever we need to use that money for related to the pool can come out of that fund, and we aren't constantly maybe going through this process of reallocating funds in the capital budget. So, Emily has done a great job of helping us, try to consolidate, the whole committee has worked on it. So I would hope it going forward in the future that maybe there would be a little bit less of this need to reallocate funds because the funds would already exist in a more general capital line item.
Other comments?
My apologies about asking the question about the skate park. But I think I had a misunderstanding because the people in our community had a belief that the money that we're transferring today could be used for the skate park, and that's not the case.
Not the whole, no, not the
Yeah.
whole amount.
Well, I mean,
Well, it
could.
technically,
Could be, technically.
we could choose to do
make
that,
that
but that's not the recommendation that
Yeah.
Scott is making.
Yeah.
so.
I think this is where there's a little bit of truth in what Jeff's saying, and that if we had a lot of money and the department had said, well, I've got this group of skateboarders, can I shift all this money and build a skate park? Well, we haven't taken up whether we're gonna do a skate park. And what he's asking us to do though is fix broken doors, resurface the gym floor. I'm okay with shuffling money that we have fund balance to do maintenance. I'm not okay with doing that to take on a new project without it going back through infrastructure
Yeah,
committee.
yeah.
And that's been my standard ever since I took chair, is that has this project gone through the infrastructure committee? Is this project a priority for our community that we're gonna expend funds on? But everything we're asking here is maintenance of the existing things that we've already said are priorities, and especially security of our facilities is like a top priority. We need, that just can't wait. I can't believe we've allowed that to happen and not fixed it. So. I don't know if, I haven't heard a motion, if somebody.
I'll
would
move
like-
to approve the proposed recreation and capital budget transfers of number one, 20,000 from the former entrance sign line to the building security line. Number two, 3,000 from the bleachers line to the gym floor resurfacing line. And three, 51,000 from the water park line to the pool repair line, 31,000, and the courts, I'm gonna say courts resurfacing line, or courts, how about we say courts maintenance line?
Yeah.
For, cause it could
Right.
probably be more than resurfacing, like fences or, anyway. And the courts maintenance line for 20,000.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Are there any other comments on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Scott.
Next is a board appointment. Alice has been very patiently waiting. So at our last meeting, the select board nominated Alice White to fill a vacancy on the town's energy committee. And this is the second step in that process to fill the vacancy. And I think it was
Nathan, not often you get a PhD physicist with relevant experience asking to be appointed to a town board like this.
So I'll move to appoint, you have a question?
I was gonna,
I'll move to appoint Alice White to the Town of Middlebury's Energy Committee.
can I just note,
Can we get a second first?
second, I
Thank
just
you.
note, friendly amendment,
Sorry.
it's a 3-year appointment standard. It happens that we're filling the vacancy of Bill Cunningham, his unexpired term for 3 years. So if it could say, move to appoint Alice White for a 3-year term ending in 2027 to fill the unexpired term of, that would help Beth
For a period of
track
3
of
years.
Understood.
what's what.
Thank you.
Then we'll second the friendly amendment.
It would have to,
Friendly amendment. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Heather that seconded it.
no, Fred seconded it.
Okay.
I just wanted to get a second before there was discussion.
Absolutely.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
Alrighty. We have Zeke available. Zeke, I'm gonna promote you for item number 10.
Ooh.
I think we can do it.
And here we can.
We got you,
Yep,
Zeke.
yep.
Sorry that our sound is a little iffy.
I will echo Ann's comment. It is hard to hear you all. I don't know if it's proximity to the mic or if it's just totally random, but if you've got a question for me, maybe try proximity to the mic. But I'm getting enough, I think, that we can make our way through.
David, do you have your computer muted? Mute your
I didn't hear
computer.
that. Sorry, Heather.
Try that.
You wanna speak?
Because, so Zeke, can you hear us a little better now?
Not gonna get us there either.
Zeke, can you hear us now? Ah,
No, that's good.
so it's not working.
There we go.
So that's the problem.
They're not working.
They're not working.
But shouldn't those be the audio device for the computer as well?
Yeah, so what's happening is
They
the
are for
sound
this,
is, the microphone right now is picking up off of David's computer and not off the owl's.
So it's all picking up.
What's the
there.
up arrow
So you better
Oh,
get
you're
your
right.
papers off of your mic.
And that's why people can't hear us.
No, he just shifted to the owl
Try
as
this.
the, as the
Zeke,
device.
can you tell us if you're hearing any better now? If somebody else
Well,
wants to
I
speak?
definitely hear you better now, so I think that's.
Because you're sitting right there.
Well, I'm right here,
Amazing.
yeah.
I think we should just speak up.
Yeah, hopefully things are improving.
Okay, let's move
Okay,
forward.
and I'll ask Dave for translation if I need it.
Yeah.
But, I guess I will just jump right in. Hopefully this one will be short too. If you all remember way back last week when I was down there, the goal was to, approve the irrevocable offers of dedication, which you did, or approve Tom to sign them, approve the amendment to the development agreement, and then we had a third item on the agenda, which was to approve the note and mortgage for the revolving loan fund. That got on the agenda, but your attorney hadn't had a chance to review those yet, so we bumped it off of those. He gave his sign off since, and so we are trying to stick to a November 19th closing, so a week from today, which will need that in place. The one thing we know required to close on November 19th. The CDBG grant agreement is not. So this is the last puzzle piece that needs to fall into place from you all prior to hopefully our closing in 1 week. I believe a draft of them was in your packet last week. One very minor change, but I think the motion tonight is to approve the note and mortgage for the revolving loan fund, subject to one more sign off from town attorney David. But otherwise, substantially similar to what you saw last week. I'll stop.
Questions?
A little challenging getting these documents at 5 PM. Last week, the promissory note and mortgage deed were from Stonecrop to Ascend Housing Allies. Now it's to the town of Middlebury. I trust that even though the form of a mortgage note and a promissory mortgage deed and a promissory note are pretty similar, the different entities that you described last time, it's still a blur for those of us, not to mention getting it at 5 PM for those who even saw it. But I think, do you all understand what's going on?
I don't necessarily feel like I need to understand or to review, as long as the town, the most important part for me is the town attorney has reviewed, and if they approve, cause I don't know, that's what their job, that's why we pay them a lot of money.
Indeed. I don't believe that lawyers need to look at everything the town does, but this is the kind of thing where that's how we cover our collective bonds.
So I think if the town attorney has reviewed and is supportive, then I'm good to move forward, but me personally.
We got the word from David Rowe this afternoon, that's why it's so late. Our choice was either have another special select board meeting sometime before the 19th, or squeeze it in, shoehorn it in today.
Well done.
Thank you.
I'm good with shoehorning it in
I felt
today.
pretty comfortable on that too, because again, you made, I think, a 3-word change that added a little protection to the city or to the town based on what you saw last week. But the only difference between this and where you were last week was that he hadn't done his final review and he's now signed off. But that happened yesterday while the town staff was off, so you didn't get it until today.
I move to approve the RLF mortgage deed from Stonecrop Development LLC for infrastructure to be constructed in the planned Stonecrop Meadows Housing Development Project, subject to review and final approval by the town attorney. And I further move to authorize the interim town manager to execute the mortgage deed on behalf of the town.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Zeke, we'll see you after.
You guys have a check
When?
warrant motion for me?
We'll see you after the closing, after Thanksgiving. We've got one more source to nail down, but it'll be post-closing, so hopefully,
Want me to get it? They just sit around.
It's up on that.
Sounds good.
Just a warrant.
Love to hear it.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, good
Cheers.
luck, Zeke.
Yeah, and it doesn't have a motion.
Thank you, Zeke.
Got 1 minute and then we only go to 9. Sad about that.
Special meeting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you for money. I'm here to ask you to take action as the town's water commissioners to help ensure the protection of the town's primary water supply and the source protection area at and around the Middlebury State Airport. Thanks to some prompting from our interim town manager, V-Trans responded to your letter that you had sent them back in September, I think it was. And they sent the MSDS kind of ingredients and sheets for each of the pesticides that they're using to control vegetation, primarily around the fence line. And they stated that doesn't show that any of those ingredients, the active ingredients in those pesticides do not contain any of the PFAS forever chemicals. Unfortunately, those ingredients lists only cover in some cases, 62% of the ingredients. So there's significant number of ingredients in those formulations that are not listed. And so there was 5 questions that I'm hoping the Select Board will put forth to V-Trans. One is, how can they know that none of those ingredients that are not listed in the MSDS sheets are not PFAS or contain PFAS? There was additional questions, including a comment in the letter from Ms. Boomhauer regarding the fact that she felt that the airport was required to spray pesticides due to the grant guarantees from the FAA for the money the airport gets. They have to do certain things to satisfy that grant money. When I pulled up the guarantee sheet from the FAA, I didn't see where it indicated they have to spray pesticides, so I'm hoping you might ask her to point out where in the grant guarantees it specifically says that they need to be doing that. And there was a few other questions in there that similar along these lines to get more information about their pesticide use, how they can ensure that PFAS are not being sprayed on our source protection area for the water supply, and what other the last one is to try to get them to start to think maybe ahead what other options might be available to V-Trans to control vegetation that doesn't include the spraying of pesticides over this area.
So Russ, the data sheets include all of the active chemicals, and my understanding from NIH, a little Google experting here, is that in a lot of cases, PFAS are active chemistry for pesticides, and that's probably the basis on which V-Trans came back to us and said, look, these are not PFAS containing pesticides. Why would we think that the inert portions of these would be PFAS containing?
The inert ingredients, as I say in my letter there, are added to increase the effectiveness of the active ingredient. So they help them to stick better, they help them to spread or not spread or drift. There's all these different things, which it turns out the PFAS chemicals are really good at doing, which is why more often, even though you find the active ingredients may be PFAS, more often it's the adjuvants, these added ingredients that aren't on that sheet. Those are the PFAS compounds, more often than not. And so that's the concern, that they have to really look at that to be able to say with any confidence that these things are not containing these chemicals. And then there's the whole issue with plastic. And they're finding that a lot of times, apparently, plastics are made with PFAS, and then things stored in the plastic, the PFAS leaches into it. And so how can they be sure that's not happening? And given that these chemicals are apparently very toxic, not in the million or billion with a B range, but in the trillion parts per billion, parts per trillion, excuse me. I mean, in such small amounts, it's kind of scary. And so because the soils there apparently are not impermeable, and things that occur and the activities that occur on the land can seep through the soil, get into our water supply, that aquifer that the majority of the people in town rely on for their water, I think it would be prudent to ensure that everything is done to ensure, and make sure that the activities there are not going to in any way somehow, mess up the quality of the water and affect that in a negative way. I included one of the scientific papers in that letter to you that outlines the PFAS adjuvants that are added to these formulations and all the different things that they do and stuff. I mean, the scientists that study this stuff spelled it out pretty well.
Thoughts of the board? Take it under advice,
So basically, it's just hoping you'll follow up to the V-Trans letter with another letter, just asking some more questions, keeping that conversation going.
board okay if we send this this inquiry to Michelle Boomauer, just following up, say, more questions, or what do you think?
This really needs to be in a different format to be forwarded, right?
It could be attached to a
Okay.
letter from us.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
It seems fair to ask questions, right?
Okay.
So right now, do you prefer they just used Roundup?
Interestingly enough, I think Roundup was one of the few ones where almost 100% of the formulation is accounted for in the.
Right,
yeah.
that's why I
Yeah.
asked the question.
So yeah, I mean, if
Okay.
they had to use, that would be,
Yeah,
preferable. I still don't know about the containers it comes in, but,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
Okay. Chief and I will work through this. Next, check warrants.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Russ.
Okay, I move to approve the total expenditures in the amount of $944,864.22, consisting of $825,444.03 for accounts payable and $119,420.19 for payroll for the period of October 23, 2024 through November 12, 2024.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Select board member concerns, Fred?
Thank you.
No.
I want to go home.
So, at one point,
Say that,
we decided we should dip our toe in the water of having some more local news in the Addison Independent. And I wonder, I know there's a lot going on, but it seems like the status of what's happening in the town, we could fill in a lot of information, because, there's been changes at Public Works Operations Director, and maybe there's new, when you get to writing, there's some new announcement to make about that, whatever the personnel committee's decided. And to thank Bill Kernan and, in that process or something. The town plan update, or what's the status of the library, or it's budget time, and here are the committees that are working on this, and I don't know, I was trying to think of the subjects that might be appropriate this time of year, if we were gonna do another one of those. Just some ideas. That's all I have.
Stick your staff on
Did we
that.
actually do one yet?
What?
Did we actually do one yet?
We did one on the Downtown Improvement District Commission, which awakened the few members remaining on that.
Two.
Stacy Rainey and Lorraine Tobias. There's been some meetings that Dan and David and Beth Dow and I had for one meeting to follow up on that. David asked me to write a history of how the DIDC came about, which I gave a draft to David and to Dan. Dan is really the select board appointee to that group, but they need to find 2 more members who qualify as business or property owners, maybe 3 more. I can't remember the number, but the ordinance has very specific qualifications for that. And the people that were appointed as alternates don't meet that. So, and so they need to have a quorum and then come together and decide what they want to do. Do they want to recruit the remaining, whatever it is, 40 members or what?
I don't wanna
Okay, sorry.
segue into education on that.
Okay.
I was just
Sorry.
curious about the newspaper, I must have missed that one edition, so. What else you got, Fred?
Nothing. Thank you.
Heather?
I already talked about the skate park, so my apologies for making comments in infrastructure that resulted in a longer meeting for us tonight. But the other thing that I did say in the infrastructure that I mentioned to the Weybridge residents that came was that I really hoped that the skate park would go to other select boards. And I'd really like to see, other towns in our community, contribute to some of that funding, because I do think that project benefits the greater community and just not the town of Middlebury. And the other thing I will say just quickly is that $76,000 fee also includes all of their in-kind gifts. They haven't actually raised that much cash, and so I think it's a little misleading when they mention, not that that's not valuable, but they talk about like a 50-50 partnership, but I think the cash they've raised is more in like the $35,000 round, $1,000 range.
Number that was, yeah.
Yeah, so, so I still feel a little bit uncomfortable putting $50,000 in the capital budget for that project at this point in time.
Isabel, what a shame we don't have a good mic for you tonight.
Okay, so 3 things. First thing, thanks to all the poll workers who worked the elections. Thanks for the town clerk's office for doing a really great election, and congrats to anyone who ran for the first time. And if they won their race, that's awesome. Second, there's a great fundraiser going on to benefit the library. So Vermont Bookstore has little dinged copies of books or advanced copies that are not able to be sold as a regular book. And they're selling them for $5 wrapped in paper, so you don't know what you're getting. Ooh, blind date with a book. And all the money that is raised for those books gets to go to the library capital project. So if you want to support a small business and the library and read a good book, you're feeling kind of risky, go ahead and get a blind date with a book. It'd be cool. And then third is a personal note. Last night at the ACSD school board meeting, they approved my resignation, so I will be leaving the classroom. And if you're interested in knowing why, my resignation letter is on the school board website, and we could talk after the meeting. But I will be joining Karen Duguay at the Vermont Chamber of Commerce, and I will be working on event planning, socials, other things like that. And I'm excited to work with her and an almost all-female leadership team at the Vermont Chamber of Commerce.
She resigned?
So that is very exciting, and it is a remote schedule, so now I can kind of come to more meetings and be more available. So that's also great too.
You'll be in person at policy review.
I think having social in your job title is really good for you. They picked the right person for, I don't care what.
The school is losing
Yeah.
very, very important piece.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've had a great time. They were great, and I will definitely still coach and, go to all the fun stuff. School dances, fundraisers, that kind of stuff.
Don't move out of town.
No.
Dan?
I'm tired, I got nothing.
Farhad?
I got nothing. No game, no nothing.
I want us to consider the sound system, which has been a challenge in the past few weeks. Last meeting I was on Zoom. I could not get anything, even with the speakerphone. I couldn't hear anything. I was just
got
there
beat the meeting before, yeah.
to follow the motion and raise my thumb. I think we should invest. We should do a better job. And that was Judy's comment. The first comment she made was, "I couldn't hear anything. You guys were breaking up."
Right.
That's what she said.
Yep.
So I think we should do a better job.
He's been working for
This is ridiculous.
for 4 years.
It is not.
The dinner trays, this is no way to run a town.
That's right.
So our next step in speaking to on top floor this afternoon, but we can obviously replace these. There is some broader discussions with MCTV about merging the two systems, since we do have two simultaneous systems running here.
I
But
think we should do something.
that's our next step.
Because Every meeting somebody can't hear, it's not an open meeting anymore. If people can't hear it, correct?
Yeah.
I'll stop at that, but the second thing I would say is Drowsy Chaperone from the high school
Yeah.
is going to, B is in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Subia is, my daughter is in there, so please go watch.
Nice.
They're doing a great job, I heard.
Your daughter also has a lead,
In the opera.
in the opera.
Yeah, yeah, she's.
Right.
170 kids in the opera, and his daughter is one of the 9 or 10 that have
Yeah.
auditioned for parts.
Whoa.
And,
I won't
yeah,
be here for
Mount Abe, and Regents and Middlebury, the three of them. Yeah.
Through the opera company of Middlebury.
Andy?
So just to note that, like, if you've got sound problems on Zoom, tune into YouTube. They've got these mics instead of those less reliable mics.
I was on YouTube while I was on the phone here.
Well, there's a delay,
YouTube
right?
is a
There's
10 second,
Yeah.
10-second lag.
Doesn't
Whatever
work
you're
when
saying,
participating.
10-second
30
lag.
seconds will fight through. Yeah, no, you can't actually participate.
No.
However, if you just want to make sure you know what's going on, or you're trying to recreate minutes, you can go to the YouTube historical archive rather than the Zoom. Yeah, I've got nothing. It's late.
No game?
No game?
No game.
Just to keep you guys up to date, I know, that, Kevin had come in here and asked, I did meet, I followed up and, state rail
Oh, good.
and Lemonade
Seymour Street
and, Vermont Rail.
skip
So we both, we met, did a Zoom call where Chief Shaw and I had really thought was gonna be easy peasy is a no-go, for both of those individuals.
Dang.
They've proposed another, alternative site, and I'm trying to, that's what I was asking Chief Shaw to look at his emails, because I'm trying to coordinate, him and Emily meeting with, the state and Vermont Rail and me, and going to look at the proposed alternative site. So, we are still working it, and maybe you could just, shoot a note to,
Seymour Street.
Kevin.
Yeah.
to Kevin
Kevin.
and let him know that, let him know that we are taking action and we're trying.
Yeah, I'll let him know.
With that, we've got a presentation from, or some discussion from Chief that has come before the Personnel Committee, and the Personnel Committee has supported it, and so, good night. The Personnel Committee had asked that before we take it up in total as far as the potential change shift to the organizational structure, that it be run by the incoming town manager, and Chief David met with him, and he was all on board with it. And so this is an opportunity for Chief to present it to everybody here. Get your thoughts on it.
All right, it's late, so I'll try to make this as brief as possible. When I first came here 2 months ago now, I realized there were some significant issues with the operations of the town government and the administration. We looked at the organizational chart, and it was kind of mortifying. Everything went to Kathleen, the town manager, everything. Everybody answered to Kathleen. The grant administration was in her hands, everything. And there's no possible way that she could have ever done all the work that she needed to do. But she's a trooper, and she did. She stuck with it as best we can. But a lot of things, there were issues with some of the other departments that weren't being fixed, that were just put on the backside. Having the history here of 33 years and watching this organization develop as it did, was a lot of it was based on personalities and insufficient performances on certain department heads way back in the 90s. We saw things like the recreation department get put under public works, which never made any sense at all. It used to be a standalone department. What we want to do to fix that we've redrawn the organization chart. We've created, number one, David, yeah, just, we'll go to the new one. The old one is just a line and everything going to Kathleen. We're creating what's an administrative team with the town manager, David, the assistant town manager, who actually have a job of assistant town manager as opposed to town manager's assistant, and a position called director of administration. That's Crystal's position. And what we've done is the town manager will directly supervise public works and public safety, the four critical functions of the town. The assistant town manager, in David's position, will oversee Parks and Recreation, which will become a department as it was years ago. The assessor, planning and zoning, and Ilsley Library. The director of administration will be overseeing all the finance, the treasurer, and be the liaison with the clerk's office. And David as well will be dealing with the library trustees. This will make a smoother organization. It'll also provide a continuity of operations should something happen. The practice here has been, when the town manager goes away, you find somebody, some low-hanging fruit person, like a police chief, for instance, that always gets appointed the assistant town manager, the acting town manager, which is fine, but I don't know the day-to-day operations of the town. I mean,
It would be a good thing, because you're doing great.
well, I would come over here and just check once or twice during the week, make sure everything's going okay, have any issues, and deal with it. But I wasn't fully in tune with what was going on in the town operations. So we've changed that. We've developed there's the old, or current, I guess, interim successor list. We're changing that to the proposed interim successor list, which is the town manager, the assistant town manager, the director of administration, the director of engineering, which is the new title we're giving to Emily, because director of planning, and we have a planning and zoning director, has created some confusion on the part of the public. She actually does engineering, or oversees engineering for the town and planning, so we wanted to change her title to be more respective of what she is doing. And then director of operations. After that, we figure in a major event, if we had lost the top three, the director of operations is still gonna be busy with infrastructure issues and fixing broken things. So he gets down to that person, we'd be down fifth in line, and then the police chief, and then the select board chair. Yes?
So, Chief, why is the police chief so low now?
Because during any kind of,
Because they're busy with policing.
they're busy with policing, and frankly, I'm in the building across the street, I don't have the day-to-day knowledge of what's going on here in the town. When I was the police chief, it was easy to come over and ask some questions, but the assistant town manager is there day-to-day. The way we've set it up now, David, Crystal, and I meet several times a day. This is how we develop these kind of things. We meet formally and we meet informally. There's a lot of communication growing. And one of the things the existing plan doesn't provide, we haven't had a staff meeting in 5 years. Nobody's talking to each other. The communication lines are broken. One department doesn't know what the other's doing, and that's because there was too much going to one person that couldn't possibly manage this. And in addition to that, she had taken over all the grant management. When I walked in the door and saw the amount of grants that had to be managed, for the first month, I was doing mea culpas to these state agencies saying, I don't even know what this grant is. I'll get to it down the road. So that's gotta change. We've gotta divide more of the work up. And creating an administrative team puts your interim successors right in place, because at any time, any one of those two, David or Crystal, or whoever's in those positions, can take over the town if need be. Can run the operations, be fully familiar with the operations of the town, and step in and do the job. We ran this proposal by Mark, what was it, Thursday? Friday last week. We had about an hour conversation with Mark. He's thrilled to death. He says, put this in place before I get there, please.
Fantastic.
We gave him the whole presentation. We sent it to him beforehand, so he got all this before we spoke with him.
You saw these slides?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he got that. We sent it to him before. So he had a chance to digest it and look at it. And the funny thing is, we both had the same haberdasher, because we were both in our dark vests and shirt, and he had the same coffee pot that I did in the background of his office. So I told him, we're breaking the spot in for the coffee pot, Mark. Anyway, he's thrilled to death. He's an organization guy.
Right.
He likes smooth organizations. He likes having clean lines of communication. All the stuff that we're bringing to him with this proposal here is what he likes. So we said, please, if you can, get this in place when you can. And so we're gonna start department head meetings again. As this goes, David will be meeting with those people in his group on a more regular basis, in addition to us meeting as a group collectively. So we're gonna start repairing the communication issues here. Right now, I'm also double dealing as the director of operations. So tomorrow, my office will be down at the Public Works Department, and I'll probably be there a couple of days during the week, just kind of making sure things are going. I meet with the chiefs of the different divisions. We have our Friday morning meeting at 9 o'clock.
2 months to go.
2 months to go. But Mark's,
Before you can retire again.
Mark's house is, he's got offers on his house.
Okay.
Yeah, he may be coming here sooner.
Oh.
And I said, that's,
And he already has his apartment here.
Great.
He already has a what?
Apartment here.
he's got an apartment here, so he's also.
Right across.
Yes, he does.
Right
Across-
across-
In the same building with you?
Building.
Across the
It's
hall.
good, because you guys can meet any time of the day and night.
Perfect. You can keep an eye on him.
So we're looking just for kind of endorsement by the board that this is the direction you'd like to see the town go to and town move to, is we're kind of just fixing things that had just kind of went broken and went by the wayside.
Only got one problem, right? I was 5th in line, and now I'm not even on the chart.
I make a
I have to
number
tell
8,
you-
make number 8 for Andy.
When I sat in your chair and I saw that I was 5th in line to run the town, I just
my
about
Lord.
had.
Yeah, right? I know.
So I do think that this is much.
Oh, makes way more sense.
Yeah. And can I just say quickly, thank you for taking the time to reach out to Mark and doing that step, because I think that was really important, and let's do it.
Well, then we'll plan to meet with the department heads next week, and we'll announce that we're gonna start. There's just some other things we're doing as well, too, and we haven't yet got confirmation from our prospective Director of Operations yet. We may hear from him on Friday whether he accepts our offer or not. If he does, that'll make things a lot easier for us, but we got a lot of things in place to go that are contingent on other things.
Did we go through an interview process there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, we had a double interview process with him. We had Eric, the union chair from Public Works, was involved, Emily was involved, and then we had with the, Crystal and David were involved as well.
And then he met with you.
And then I had a final meeting with him. I will tell you, he's got thumbs up from everybody involved in the interviews.
Oh, good.
Public Works is excited about him.
Oh, my God.
There's a really happy spirit with the Public Works Department right now, because they know changes are coming. They're looking for it, and when I meet with them, I mean, I've known these guys, some of them since they were kids, so it's, it's a little easier for me, I can be franker. I can get through the nonsense, just right to business. But they're good guys. I mean, we've got good workers in Public Works, we've got good workers all around, they do their jobs. It's just, there's just issues. They need somebody to stitch them together.
Chief,
I think
you
the job, sorry.
You suggested that there should be a point person for communication, but I don't know from the chart who that is.
So, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that at this point, so many of our, I'm losing my voice, so I'm sorry, but so many of our communications tools are electronic that we think it likely would be Crystal.
Yes.
And if there's an emergency, so be it. We'll do our best to announce it as we can. But for the things that are going to be well-known ahead of time, having one person send it out, first off, it frees other people up. But secondly, the manager's office will know about it, as opposed to it coming out from a department. Whether it's parks, it's predominantly Public Works, just by virtue of what they do. But having it come up the ladder and then we shoot it out, we'll have fewer instances where things get missed, essentially.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a
the
fabulous idea.
more we can push the text messaging, and the greater we can expand its usage, the far more effective it is than the door knocking or the lit drops, which are just totally unsustainable. So
I would say the process that we've been doing this, when I realized what was going on and some of the issues had to be dealt with, having David and Crystal step up and carry the daily load of a lot of things while I'm out doing these other things to try to prepare the way for the new manager, so he walks into a turnkey operation as opposed to coming in and saying, oh my God, what have I done? We're trying to make it smooth for him, and this has been good for David and Crystal because they've got a lot more responsibility now. They're stepping up to it and dealing with a lot of things. David's running the meetings, he's getting these things rested, Crystal's doing all kinds of stuff.
if I can point out one thing, part of that role that may change is designed to help make it clear where the operations of human resources exists in the town.
Yes.
We're reaching that point where we sort of have to graduate to having a formalized presence. That individual has been performing some of those roles informally, but we're at that scope now where there needs to be a clear place, not just for the employee, but for the staff in general, to know where those issues need to go. So
would there be evaluations done by you of the departments that are under you, or
So.
How does that work with Crystal and her human HR functions over there?
Yeah, so one of the topics we'd like to discuss with Mark is what exactly the town's performance evaluations processes are. Crystal has a number of ideas from her background in HR on how the traditional thing of sitting with somebody once a year and reviewing them is probably not the most efficient way to really understand them. It's gotta be built in with a more regular communication with staff. And so part of the idea of sharing with Mark will be agreeing on what that new standard will be for performance evaluations, and then everybody doing it, and making sure that there's follow-up to that.
And he has a lot of experience with that, and so that was one thing I was really impressed with.
There was, well, there are some things we can do to prepare for him, but some of this is stuff he's gonna have to take on his own, because, these are nuances he'll put in to kind of tailor the operation. Now, you notice the Crystal's position is called Director of Administration. We trying to, where'd that title come from? It's not something we pulled out of the moon. She went and talked to people in similar positions in different towns and associations that she's familiar with, and this seems to be the general title for what she'd be doing, and that, which also includes human resources, in addition to overseeing finances.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from, in case anybody wondered.
I wanna say something. I obviously understand this, sitting on the personnel committee, and this is, everything's fabulous and this is great. When we talk about communications, I, as sitting on the personnel committee, shouldn't have to come into the select board meeting and seeing this on it without having any communications of the personnel committee that the conversations with Mark has already been done. I've been waiting for some type of feedback. That's the way we left it in the personnel committee, that we would get some feedback. And I don't like to see things added to this without some type of notification. Somebody should have talked to, I think, the personnel committee to tell us how Mark, I'd like more feedback about other things that Mark did. Like I said, I sat in with all 3 of his interviews. I think I have a good sense of him. I would like to personally have more feedback on that. I would have liked to have seen an email at 5 o'clock if there was gonna be done that, but I would really like something like this to have gone through the personnel committee before it came out on this. And that's communications, and that's important to me.
Just so you know that we got done with the meeting with Mark, I let Brian know. I sent Brian an email saying that we had met with Mark.
Great, and Brian's on the personnel committee as a select board chair. What personnel committee, Heather and I were left off. And we left it, I thought we had left it that you were gonna come back to the personnel committee after talking to Mark.
No,
I
I
don't-
think we left it that if it was okay with Mark, we would come to the select board.
That was not my sense when I left. I could be wrong and just feeling bruised here, but.
Heather, did you, what was your read on that?
Nah.
I'd have to go look at the minutes.
Well, we'll take the black eye for it.
But that's communicated. I mean, I know we're in a transition period, but this meeting is really important when I come here, and I need to be fully prepared for these meetings. And there's just too many surprises tonight. I mean, I don't appreciate that, so.
Well, the first one was a time issue. There's nothing, we just found out about that this afternoon.
Could have waited until another select board meeting.
Well, it couldn't, because it's gotta be signed before that. We would've had to have a special.
That one, that
special
was
board meeting.
important. I thought you
Yeah.
meant this one.
No, this one,
No, I understand, but this one, I just think there was some, I think you guys are being, we talked about.
Here's what I remember though, is that Chief Chief wanted to have it at the 14th, he has staff meetings on the 14th. This is just what's in my head. We talked about it, he's like, okay, I'm gonna take it to the staff on the 14th. And I said, it needs to go before the board, before it goes before the staff. And before it goes for the board, I think you should talk with Mark. So I thought that we had agreed on, they were gonna present it to Mark. If Mark was okay with it, it would go to the whole board, and then it would go to the staff on the 14th.
Even a courtesy would have been to come back to the personnel committee.
I'm not
A
disagreeing
phone
with
call to
that,
me.
but-
I mean, I chaired it, so
Yeah.
that's my,
I'm not disagreeing with it.
No, yeah.
but, yeah, I just, that was the time, it was an expedited time frame to change the organizational structure.
yeah, and that's somewhat scary, an expedited timeframe to change completely how we do business. I mean, this is a big deal. This, I don't know how they'll feel about it when they wake up tomorrow morning, if they still think it's a great idea, but this is really serious, big-time stuff. This is the biggest thing that's happened in this structure in a long time.
Yeah.
And we're punching it through. So,
All right, well, I'll take the hit for that.
Okay.
Point well taken.
Okay.
But we have to make decisions, and we made them. And I'll stand by them.
Okay.
Take whatever comes with it.
I guess he has authority to change the structure, right? Doesn't need the select board to change the structure of this?
Correct.
I think so.
If you really want to be scared, you can go read the charter, which was written in 1965, where the manager is responsible for the operation of all departments.
Yeah.
Is the personnel manager of the town, is, you know,
Yeah.
and so, you know, it's, if someone were to come and just read this and figure, oh, that's how the town is run, it's not. And really, some of these charts are more three-dimensional when you figure out that, like, you have an infrastructure committee who has a relationship, not unlike the library trustees have with the library, you know, with Emily, you know, to develop things and understand what's going on. And so, there's more to it. What's interesting between the two charts is, you know, between the existing one and the new one, there's now a dash in between the Director of Engineering and Public Works Operations.
Mhm.
I don't understand why there wasn't communication or a dash before, but,
There was.
so, I don't know,
There was.
it's here now. And
It's just the creation of whoever did the PowerPoint. That was always supposed to be.
yeah, they need to work together. Well, anyway, I think, I'm encouraged. I just think the charter's so archaic in some ways.
It's a graphic, there's a write-up that supports the whole thing.
Yeah.
That describes what the positions are in much more detail than a graphic, but looking at the graphic it's in front of you, you can get the picture.
I'll comment, you've done a great job doing this, and I fully appreciate it, but we're talking communications, and your communications with the select board is probably your most important communications.
Very good to know that Mark is on board with this, and,
Well, that's what we insisted on the personnel committee.
He was thrilled to death with it.
He's an organizational guy.
He is, and I sense that. It just, from our perspective, we're in a bit of a time crunch. I'm trying to get stuff prepared for when he comes. And getting this organizational chart at the last minute would have been disruptive for everybody. So, you know, we're trying to push this thing along. I made the decision to do it and time it as is before we've debated for a month and a half now over this thing. This is not something we just thought of and wrote it up. Myself, David, and Crystal have gone through this and exercised it.
I know that.
And,
I know that.
anyway, point well taken.
I'll never speak to you again.
Oh, you will.
Oh, my God.
yes, he will.
Not till tomorrow.
So, I do have one question. Do we need a, executive session?
So
Does this have budgetary, consideration?
not at this point. If that happens, then that would need to come back.
Is the title really something that needs to go to
That title-
executive session?
From what Crystal explained, that can be done administratively. So-
I don't see the title needing to go to executive session, but if you're talking about promotions or something like
No,
that, I think.
at
we
this
should
point,
be
that's
talking
not-
about
That's not-
Retaining the same people, the same positions, but we're upgrading what they do.
Yeah.
And streamlining it.
So other than, the little bruising and the black eye, chief, have the go-ahead we all on board to support this?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and we don't have any other reason for an executive session.
No.
With that,
Motion for adjourn.
Second.
Mm.
oh,
I know.
all in favor?
Aye.